So let's first talk about wind. Let's face it, it's hard to get permits in the United States of America. Even for offshore wind where no one owns the land. My 86% was worldwide. In fact, that is the case. In Vietnam, they had no renewables in 2018. They now have a higher percentage of renewable electricity than we do. Are they being nice? Heck no, they're getting a good deal. The truth is that most of the electricity generation that is going to be built and is being built is in China, India, Southeast Asia.
What can we learn from them?
Well, I think they're going to make very self-interested decisions, which is fine. And what needs to happen is they have to be able to buy things that are in their interest, that are cheap, that are a good deal. If that happens, then basically electricity generation in the world will move to renewables and clean. If in fact we don't succeed in that, then we're not going to be able to get off fossil fuels nearly fast enough. And let me just take one step back. This is all taking place in the context of a natural world. I think when people talk about business, there's an assumption that the world is static, that here we are and whatever the temperature is, whatever the storms are in Florida, whatever the heat index is in Arizona, is kind of where we are. Well, that's not true. The truth is we're in a natural world that is changing, that is probably changing faster than the scientists predicted, and where we can look and see, this isn't like predicting the market where it's uncertain. This is pretty easy to know. And so what we can see is, it's not like we should do this, we have to do this. And the question is, we're gonna do it, how fast are we gonna do it? And that's somewhat a question of technology and costs, and it's somewhat a question of all of society response. Do we, as a society, put our shoulders to the wheel and get this done?
Is there do you see this happening gradually? Is it a tipping point? Do we have to hit the rock bottom of climate? Because obviously we've been batting this drum for 30 years everywhere. Whether it's scientists, activists, or corporations are trying to
Well, there are two things going on. I mean, it's absolutely typical in new technologies to go through what's called the S-curve. So there's a time when you're not selling that much and you're trying to get better and your costs are going down and your competence is going up and you're competing with the existing technology. And when the cost curves cross, it kind of goes vertical and you get to about 80% and it flattens out. That's the normal technology transfer. We're seeing that. I mean, 86% is kind of vertical. The cost curves have crossed in terms of electricity generation. And that's really just the beginning, I think. In terms of EVs, and you were saying, look, I think EVs grew by over 30% worldwide last year. So it wasn't like it was slowed down. One of the things that and let's remember that the US is not the world. In the US, we drive big cars, long distances. In most of the world, they drive small cars, short distances. 99% of the people use their cars to commute. So when we think about it, we think of it in the US context, where in fact, a lot of the EVs in the US, I think, grow 24 or 25% last year. The reason they didn't grow as much is people are now looking and saying, should I get a plug-in hybrid so I never have to worry about range anxiety? That's still a car where most of the time you're going to be driving on electricity. I think when you look at what's going on in terms of costs for EVs, there's a sense that they're very expensive. The costs for EVs have been going down $1,000 per month for the last 15, 18 months. Really.
Yeah.
If we keep going on that, there is about, I think it's a $10,000 electric vehicle in China. That's a disruptive technology.